Welcome back to JForrest English Training. I'm Jennifer, and today you're going to learn how to sound more professional and confident when speaking English in public. And I'm going to share 10 bad speaking habits that you need to avoid. Let's get started. The first bad habit is using one-word answers. Let's say you were at a conference and your boss asks you, "How was the conference?" And you reply back and you say, "Good, great, awesome." What do you notice about these answers? They're all one-word answers. Now, it might seem a little comical that that's all you would say, but I hear this from students all the time. I'll ask them about their vacation, and they were on a 2-week vacation in another part of the world, and all they say was, "Good, great, okay, not bad." Very short answers. This doesn't sound very professional, and you definitely don't sound advanced in English. An easy way to solve this problem is to answer in a complete sentence. Repeat the question. The conference was good. Now, still, this isn't enough information. You can then expand on that and you can provide the reason why, or you can provide one example from the conference or the trip. The conference was good because I met a lot of new people in my field and I have a lot of new contacts. This sounds so much more professional and advanced compared to good. Our next bad habit is using weak words. Let's say your boss asks you if you can have the report finished by the end of the day, and you reply back and say, "I think so, I'll try." These are all weak words because they imply that you might not finish the job or finish the request. So instead of saying, "I think I can," change that to something more confident, something stronger. "I know I can finish the report by the end of the day. I promise I'll finish the report by the end of the day. You can count on me to finish the report by the end of the day." The next bad habit is using very basic words. Basic words like good, okay, fine, all of these are very beginner words and they don't sound very professional and they don't make you look very confident either. So if you simply change that to something more advanced, instead of saying the conference was good, you say the conference was very beneficial. And then you can move on and provide more information like we talked about in the first bad habit, because often the one-word answers that you want to avoid are also very basic words. One bad habit you definitely want to avoid is speaking too quickly. So imagine right now I'm telling you about the rules of something and I'm speaking very fast. Do you think you'll be able to understand very well if that's how I spoke? Well, a lot of students actually think they speak too slowly, but in my experience, that's not true. They actually speak too fast. And when you speak too fast, it's difficult to understand, to follow your story. So just take a breath, put some pauses into your words as well, and that will help you slow your pace. Now let's talk about word fillers. Word fillers are those words like well, you know, like. These words that don't have any meaning, but people add them to their speech when they're trying to think about what to say next. So imagine you're in a meeting and your boss asked you to tell everybody about how the project is going, and you reply back and say, "Well, the project's going pretty good. Well, you know, we just need to," obviously that doesn't seem very professional professional, and you certainly won't feel very confident when you have all those ums. Let's talk about eye contact. This can be a very difficult one, especially because culturally, people have different rules for eye contact. In North American culture, it's considered polite and professional to make eye contact with the person you're talking to, but you don't maintain eye contact 100% of the time. You can absolutely look away, look down, look up, but you want to maintain eye contact at least 50% of the time. Next, let's talk about intonation. Intonation is the natural raising and falling of your voice. Our voices do this naturally. Now, if I'm way up high and then I come down low, and then I go way back up high and then I come down low, that's not very professional and it won't make you look very confident. But you also don't want to talk on one specific note and maintain that note. Right now, I probably sound more boring to you because I don't have intonation in my voice. That's the impact of not having that natural rising and falling, and I hear this from students all the time. So you could do some vocal exercises and try to go up higher and then come down lower, and just try to vary your intonation, which is the rising and falling of your voice when you speak, to sound more professional and to appear more confident. Our next bad habit is on enthusiasm and a lack of enthusiasm. What do I mean by this? Well, let's say you went to this conference and you want to tell your boss and your colleagues that the conference was very beneficial and you learned a lot and you made a lot of useful contacts. But if you deliver this, if you communicate this without enthusiasm, they're not going to understand the message. The conference was great. I met a lot of people. It was very beneficial. It was really interesting. A lack of enthusiasm, your intonation goes down, your volume goes down. Just think of it as being very tired or bored or not interested. So think about the enthusiasm that you have in your voice. Now, part of showing your enthusiasm and part of being confident is also your body language. Notice how I said when you lack enthusiasm, it's like you're tired. When you're tired, you have a hard time keeping your body up. But it doesn't look very professional, and I probably don't look very confident right now. And same people, often they speak, they cover up their body, which makes them appear very small. That doesn't seem very confident either. When you're confident, just bring your shoulders back and take up about as much space as your shoulders go. Think of that as your box, your communications box, and that's where you want to be. You want to make sure you stay upright in this box when you're communicating, because that will make you seem very confident, and then also that will help with your intonation and your enthusiasm, because when your body is all crunched down, it actually impacts the intonation of your voice. And when you're upright more, you can get more enthusiasm, more intonation from your voice as well. So remember, shoulders back and pay attention to your body language. Now finally, let's talk about hand gestures. So hand gestures is just simply using your hands when you communicate. Now, there are some things you don't want to do, like completely not having any hand gestures. So if I did the entire video like this, maybe you could watch it for 30 seconds, but imagine watching it for 10 minutes where you don't see my hands at all. Now, if my hands are like this, most likely my body is going to start to sag as well, and I'm not going to have good body language. But when I bring my hands into it, I'm more likely to keep my shoulders back. Remember I said you want to have a communication box because you also don't want your hands wailing and frailing about and just being all over the place as well. You want to keep your hand gestures within this communications box. So just keep them very slight, very natural. You don't want to go too far away, just close to the body, but just keep them going. And that will, again, help you with your body language. It will make you look a lot more confident and you'll appear more professional because all professional speakers use their hands when they're speaking. And if you avoid these 10 bad speaking habits, I know you're going to look instantly more professional and you're going to feel more confident as well. So which bad habit do you think you need to improve the most? Share that in the comments below. Do you get nervous right before you're about to speak English in public? Maybe your hands start to shake or your heart starts racing or you get that feeling in your stomach. Does that ever happen to you? Well, don't worry because in this video, we're going to talk about how to not get nervous speaking English in public in any situation. But before we begin with my 5 best tips, I just want you to know one thing. It's totally normal. That reaction that you get, that physical reaction, is absolutely normal. Did you know that public speaking is the #1 fear in the entire world? And that's in your own native language. So you can imagine how much more difficult it is when you're speaking in a foreign language in front of people. So first of all, just know there's nothing wrong with you. It's totally normal to have that reaction. Now, let's talk about the 5 tips that you can use to feel confident and not get nervous when you're speaking in public. Tip number 1. The first thing that I want you to do is relax. Now, when I say I want you to relax, I'm talking about your physical body. I want you to physically relax your body. Because when we're nervous, when we're under stress, we also tighten. We tighten up our body. But did you know that it has been scientifically proven by the medical community that you cannot feel stress if your body is physically relaxed? So just relax your back, relax your arms, relax this area of your chest and stomach as well. So just relax, relax. But I want you to still maintain good posture because it isn't very professional to be hunched over in a bad position, although it is very relaxing to do something like that. So you need to relax your body, but still maintain a professional position for when you're speaking. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to use positive visualization. Because let me guess, when you think about speaking in public, not that you're actually speaking in public, but when you just think about speaking in public, most likely a negative image comes to mind. You imagine the audience judging you because you made a grammar mistake, or judging you because your accent is too thick, or you imagine yourself forgetting all your words and not knowing what to say. You imagine yourself not being able to answer the question. You imagine yourself feeling really nervous and not confident and doing a bad job. Well, guess what? Do you think having all of those negative images in your mind are going to help you feel confident going into a situation? Isn't it just a normal reaction that you would feel stress and nervousness if you anticipate something negative happening? That is your body doing its job. If you have a negative image in your mind and your body reacts negatively, everything is working properly. That is what your body is meant to do. So one thing that you can do is to change those mental images. Change them to successful images. Imagine yourself opening your mouth and having the words flow out confidently. Imagine the audience cheering for you and telling you you did an amazing job. Imagine yourself standing in front of that audience feeling confident and feeling proud. Now, do you think you would have a different feeling in your body if you had all of those positive images instead of negative images? Well, of course, the answer is yes. So you need to work on your positive visualization. Tip number 3 is to focus on your audience and not yourself. Now, when I use the word audience, I'm not talking about a 100-person TED Talk, although that may be the case. Your audience could be one person, your boss, your coworker, your friend, a hiring manager. It could be just one person. But a lot of students, when they go into a real situation and they're going to be speaking, they're focused on themselves. They're focused on their accent, their English, their feelings, their emotions. But aren't you forgetting the reason why you're public speaking anyway? You have a message to share, right? Maybe your message is simply updating your boss on the status of the project. Maybe your message is explaining to the hiring manager why you would be the perfect choice for the position. Now, if you go into a situation and you're only thinking about yourself and you're not thinking about your audience, well, that's kind of selfish, isn't it? And when you think just about yourself, it's going to be more likely that you have all of these hesitations and negative thoughts and judgments and fears. But if you put all your focus on your audience, then you're not focusing on your English skills or your fear, your anxiety. And if we don't put focus on something, it will just naturally minimize. So if we don't focus on our anxiety and our nervousness and we focus on the audience and the information you want to share with that audience, your message, well then you're going to just feel more relaxed, less nervous, and your audience is going to really appreciate the attention that you're giving them, and it's going to make them think that you really care. So it's going to help you feel less nervous and also help you impress your audience at the same time. Tip number 4 is to structure your ideas. Imagine you needed to go to a job interview in a different part of town, a different part of your city that you've never been to before. And you get in your car and you don't have a GPS and you just start driving. Are you going to feel a little bit nervous? A little bit nervous that you might get lost? A little bit nervous that you might not get there in time? A little bit nervous that you have no idea where you're going or how you're going to get there? Well, of course you would feel nervous in that situation if you were going somewhere new without a GPS, right? Well, if you go into a situation where you're public speaking, in a meeting, in a job interview, giving a presentation, and you have no idea how you're going to begin, how you're going to transition to your next idea, and how you're going to end, you're going to feel nervous, right? It's the same situation trying to get to a location without a GPS. Well, in this situation, when we're talking about public speaking, structures, simple structures are going to help you get to your message in a very easy way, in a very organized way. Just like a GPS helps you get to your destination in a very easy to follow way. So a simple structure that you can use is you need an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. If you go into a job interview and you know how to start your answer and you know how to end your answer, that's already going to make you feel a lot more confident and feel less nervous. And if you know what to put in the body of your answer as well. And you can do that in any situation. You can have a simple introduction, body, conclusion for anything you're asked. Even in a social situation when you're telling your friend about what you did last night or your upcoming vacation. In any situation you're communicating, you don't want to just open your mouth and see what comes out, because most likely what comes out isn't going to be very good. And that's going to make you feel very nervous. But if you open your mouth and you have a clear beginning, middle, and end, and you know how to transition from the beginning, middle, and end, then you're going to feel confident and you're not going to feel nervous. And tip number 5 is to practice, practice, practice. Now, when you go into a job interview, of course you should practice. Many people practice the day before, the night before, as they're driving to the job interview. And obviously you're going to feel nervous if you've only practiced once or twice. You need to practice again and again and again and again and again. If you feel a lot of nervousness, that's probably just your body telling you that you haven't prepared. And you prepare by practicing. Now, some nervousness is natural and will always be there, even if you do practice and prepare. So you're not looking for zero nervousness, but you are looking for a low level of nervousness where it doesn't impact your message. And you can practice any situation. You can practice answering questions you weren't expecting. And then when you're asked a question you weren't expecting, you'll feel confident because of all the practice you've done in the past. So if you want to feel confident, it's absolutely going to come from practicing and preparing. Let's say you're in a meeting at work and you have this amazing idea that you want to share, and you open your mouth and you start speaking, and as you're speaking, you just can't think of that word. You have a very specific word in your head, and at that exact moment when you're speaking, it's not coming to you. This is something that I hear from students all the time. And it's one of the reasons that a lot of students will avoid speaking, because they're afraid that is going to happen. Either because it's happened in the past, they've heard stories of it happening to other people, or it's just a fear that they have. But here's what you need to know. It is normal. It is normal for you to be speaking and not remember a word, not remember an entire idea. This is normal even if you practice what you wanted to say, and you practice and you practice and you practice, and then you get to the point where you're sharing your idea. Maybe it's in a job interview or at work in a meeting, and you're speaking and then you forget. You forget the word that you just spent hours and hours practicing. Why does that happen? Well, you just have to realize that, for one, your brain is not Google. Okay? I think a lot of people have this expectation that their brain's job is to give them the precise piece of information the moment they want it. Now, that would be amazing if the brain could do that. And our brain is capable of doing incredible things, but it does not work the same way that Google works. When you want some piece of information, Google or Siri will give you that information instantly. Your brain is not like that. Your brain has all that information, but it doesn't have a filing system that it can just open a file and take that piece and give it to you on demand. That is a limitation. So you need to understand that this is normal. You have to think about this in your own native language. Are you telling me that you've never been speaking in your own native language and forgotten what you wanted to say, forgotten the name of a movie, the name of a restaurant, the name of a street, the name of a coworker, and you know their name, but just at that exact moment you can't remember it? Are you saying that doesn't happen to you in your native language? Well, of course not. Of course it happens to you in your native language. So why wouldn't it happen to you when you're speaking in English as a second language? The best solution I can offer you is to have strategies in place when you forget your words. So I want to tell you about one of my students in my program, Speak to Impress. Now, this is a public speaking program, so my students practice their public speaking and they learn strategies to help them share their ideas effectively and impressively. So one of my students was talking about her favorite Disney movie. Now, as she was talking, she couldn't remember the name of the Disney movie. A lot of times, students will just use a lot of word fillers. They'll get really stressed out, or they'll just stop talking because they forget a specific word. But remember what I said, you need strategies. So this student was able to keep talking. So she forgot the name of the movie. She instantly started talking. Oh, I can't think of the name of the movie. What's that name again? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So as I was saying, so she talked for a little bit to give her brain some time to think of the information. The information was not coming, so she had to move on. She had to keep going. And that's what my students learn. They learn to have these problems, like forgetting their words, and they learn how to overcome them with specific strategies so they can keep talking. So you just need to have some strategies in place to help you keep talking when that situation happens, because that's a normal situation. It is going to happen. It's going to happen when you're in a meeting. It's going to happen when you're at a job interview. It's going to happen when you're giving a speech at a networking event or a conference. It's going to happen when you're at a party just socializing with friends. You cannot stop talking. You have to keep going. So you just need to have some strategies to help you keep talking. So ultimately, you can just relax because that is a normal situation. But there is one thing you need to understand, and that's that our brains don't work as effectively when we're under stress. So if you have a fear of public speaking, and before you go to speak, you're already nervous. Before you begin the presentation, before you go to the job interview, your heart is racing, your hands are shaking, you have that feeling in your stomach. At that moment, your body is under a lot of stress. And in that stressful environment, your brain doesn't think as clearly. Your brain is under stress at that moment. So it's going to be more difficult for you to organize your thoughts and think clearly and get the words out. Just think about how you feel when you didn't get a good night's sleep. Let's say you had a terrible night's sleep, you only slept 2 to 3 hours, and you're in a meeting in your own native language, and you're asked a question, and you've only had 2 to 3 hours of sleep. You're not going to be able to articulate your ideas very clearly or effectively because your brain isn't working properly. It's only had 2 to 3 hours of sleep. Now, that exact same thing is true when your body is under stress. So it's really important that you learn to control your fear of public speaking. It's very normal to have a fear of public speaking, but you need to take action to minimize those negative emotions. I'm not going to tell you that you're going to eliminate them 100%, but you can absolutely minimize them. You can minimize the nervousness, the heart racing, the hand shaking. You can reduce it and minimize and minimize and minimize, and with enough practice, you can get it as close to zero as possible. And when your body is not under stress, your brain is going to work more effectively, and it will be able to give you the information that you need when you need it. So first of all, understand that it is normal. Even when you're not under stress, your brain does not operate like Google. But understand that when your body is under stress because you're having a negative reaction to public speaking, your brain is not going to work as effectively as if you were calm. One strategy that I can offer you to overcome your fear of public speaking is to use your breath. So take big breaths in. So big breaths in, hold, and then a big exhale out. So take it in for 3 to 5 seconds, hold it for 2 to 3 seconds, and then exhale for 5 to 10 seconds. And when you take those big breaths in and big breaths out, your heart rate is going to slow down because your body is in stress. You need to get your body back into a calm environment, and you can do that with your breathing. So before you go to the job interview, just sit in your car or go to the bathroom and just do some breathing exercises. Or let's say it's a few days before the job interview and you're thinking about it and you get nervous just thinking about it and your heart starts to race. At that exact moment, do some breathing exercises the second you have that fear. Obviously, you can't do that in the middle of the job interview while you're speaking. You can't do that, right? I think that's obvious. I don't need to tell you that. So you have to do this as a preventative before you go into the event. And that will just help your body stay in that calm, relaxed state so you can think clearer. Another reason why you forget your words when you speak is because you're thinking too much about your words. You're obsessing over your English and you're thinking too much about individual words, and you're forgetting the purpose of communications. The purpose of communications is to share an idea. You should not be thinking about the individual words that you're going to use. You should be thinking about your overall message that you want to communicate, and then focus on your message. Because there are many, many, many different ways that you can communicate a message in English. But I find that students when they're public speaking, they forget that they're not in a classroom. When you're at work and you're in a meeting and you're sharing your ideas, you're not in a classroom. In a classroom, you might be required to practice specific verb tenses or to practice a specific phrasal verb that you've been studying. And when you share a practice example in a classroom setting, you have to practice that specific phrasal verb. But when you're in the workplace environment and you're communicating, and let's say you want to share an idea and you want to share it with that phrasal verb, but you can't remember that phrasal verb. If that's what's happening, then you've forgotten the purpose of communications. You've forgotten why you're there. You're there to share an idea. Whether you share that idea with a specific phrasal verb or a different word, a synonym of that phrasal verb, does not matter. In the classroom, it matters. In the real world, it does not matter. You should not be thinking about individual words, individual verb tenses, individual phrasal verbs, individual expressions. That is not your goal. Your goal is to communicate a message. So if you focus on the message, then you won't worry about what words you use to communicate that message. So the only thing you need to do as a solution is you just need to focus on your message. Focus on your message and remember that there are 10, 20, 100 different ways to say the exact same thing. So you may have wanted to use a specific phrasal verb, but who cares? There are many other ways you can communicate the exact same idea. And remember, you're not in English class. Your boss, the person interviewing you, doesn't care about your phrasal verb vocabulary. They care about your ideas. They care about the value that you can bring to the organization. They care about the solutions that you provide. That's what they care about. They don't care about your English. So stay focused on your ideas and remember, you're not in English class. So now you know why you forget your words, and you also have some very simple strategies that you can use starting today to overcome this problem so you can share your ideas effectively and impressively. And if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe.